Hey guys, Someplace here. Welcome to week number 7 of the college football Dynaminis. Our current top 10 got a little bit of a shakeup last week. Rutgers is still in first, but Montana State with a huge win jumped up from fourth to second, and they have greatly improved their points per game. Villanova are hanging on to third with Georgia Tech, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, BYU, UAB, and Michigan rounding out that top 10. We've got a decent amount of ranked teams playing this week. Maybe not as exciting as last week, but still pretty good nonetheless. Probably the biggest game is going to be our second game this week between Texas and Texas A&M. It is the very last game of Texas's 5-game gauntlet. They're 3-1 over that stretch, with the only loss being to FCS Texas Southern, which is just kind of crazy. We're also going to see the debut of a lot of teams like UCLA, Mississippi State, Purdue, among others. Kentucky will make a return, looking to bounce back after their upset loss to Western Kentucky in week number 2. And Wake Forest, another team looking to continue their charge after beating Duke last week. They're up to 2-1. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And as we always do, we are going to start in the North Texas Conference. Texas Tech beat University of Texas El Paso, aka UTEP, last week, and the Miners looking to bounce back against FCS team Tarleton State. But Tarleton, a very good FCS school. They actually were one of the few FCS teams to upset an FBS team in real life during preseason. They beat the Army Academy, so that is why they are included. And I think they did well in the FCS playoffs as well. So we are going to see them, their debut. They're taking on 0-1 UTEP, who will take the win here in the first match of week number 7. It is Tarleton State, without a doubt. And they had a 96% chance to win, which is just kind of crazy. UTEP, they are getting cooked. Just 10 points in their first game, and none here as they fall 39-0. That is brutal, and they're going to fall to 0-2, which keeps them at the bottom of the North Texas in 8th place. Meanwhile, for Tarleton State, it's a good result. They're up to 3rd behind 2-0 TCU and 3-0 Texas Tech, and that could very well see them into the national rankings as well, so keep an eye out for that at the end of this video. Tarleton State, they are not going to play for a while. Looks like we'll have to wait till week number 12 when they take on the current second-place team, TCU. As for UTEP, we'll have to wait till week 21, also against TCU. And now we have the big game in the Texas South Conference between the two top teams favored to finish 1 and 2 in the conference. It's the Texas Longhorns against the Texas A&M Aggies. A&M currently leads the conference, but they're just 1-0. But they did score 48 points in their first game, a shutout against Sam Houston State. Can they do the same to the Longhorns, who are 3-1, and could have been 4-0 if they didn't drop the ball against Texas Southern? Longhorns against Aggies, and it will be Texas A&M keeping their hold on the Texas South Conference. They move up to 2-0, dropping the Texas Longhorns to 3-2. And as a former Oklahoman, you'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. Down go the Longhorns. And Texas A&M, it is a little bit of a knock to their points per game, so we might not see them ranked quite as high as they were. I think, don't see the graphics live, but I think they were around, I want to say 5th or 6th in the national rankings. So they're going to get dropped a little bit by that, just 29 points here, but it is another win, and so they move up to 2-0, and it is definitely a win against their hardest opponent in this conference. So we shall see how that affects them. Hopefully not that much if you're an Aggie fan. Texas A&M will play again in week number 12 against the only other team to beat the Texas Longhorns. that being Texas Southern. As for the Longhorns, they've played 5 of their 7 games this season already, so we will have to wait till week 20 to see them again when they take on Rice. And now we come to the Midwest Conference, a battle between two winless teams. Tulsa are 0-2, but they have played very decent sides so far. Kansas State and Arkansas playing against 0-1 Missouri State, who lost to Oklahoma State to begin the season. One of these teams will be walking away with a win. Will it be the Hurricanes or will it be the Bears? It will be Tulsa, the Oklahoman team, getting their first win of the season. They move up to 1-2, which will only see them jump up one spot just above the one team left to play, that being Kansas. They still behind Oklahoma State and Kansas State, who are 1-1 based on win ratio. 22 points per game for them, though, so that helps their points per game. You need 24 to make the wild card bracket, so slowly getting there, even if they don't crack the top 4. That will help Missouri State as well, as they were only on 3 points in their first game, up to 30 now, so their points per game goes up to 15. And they'll move above Arkansas State at the bottom of the table. We'll see Tulsa again next week. They take on the Oklahoma Sooners. Can they keep their momentum going against a much better team? We shall see. As for Missouri State, we're going to have to wait till week 11 to see them again when they take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. And the last team to play in the Midwest Conference is Kansas. They are the only team that hasn't played yet, and we won't see them until week 18 when they begin a series of 4. So if you are a Jayhawks fan, you'll have to wait till then. Most of the conference will kind of already be sorted out at that point. So maybe that'll be a good thing, or maybe that'll be a bad thing. We'll see. But here, week number 7 as it stands, Tulsa 39, Missouri State 27. And now we go to the Louisiana Conference, where Tulane now lead above LSU. They're 2-0 in the national rankings, taking on 0-1 Southern University here. In a game, that could be classified as a banana peel for Tulane. They've already got past a couple of the other smaller clubs, smaller colleges in the Louisiana Conference. Their one deciding match against LSU won't be until week 21. So just hoping to stay on the winning side of things until then. As for Southern, this would be a great upset if they were able to capture it, and they are not. The Green Wave win by 30. Southern gets a touchdown on the board, but that's all they get. As Tulane continue to roll, and that will help their points per game again. They were at 36. They scored 37 here. So just a slight boost for them. Might not see them jump up any places in the national rankings. In fact, they could fall a couple if some other teams leapfrog them, but it's still a really good score nonetheless. They're up to 109 points scored in 3 games, so very nice for them. And they will continue to lead the Louisiana Conference. Southern will play again next week against UL Monroe, and again the week after that against Nichols, so maybe a chance for Southern to bounce back in there. ULM are also 0-2, and Nichols, it will be Nichols' debut. As for Tulane, they'll play against Nichols State in week number 12. And now we go to the Gulf Conference. Mississippi State's debut is taking on 0-2 Troy. Troy lost to South Alabama in week 3, and just recently Auburn in week number 6. So they have an opportunity here to bounce back against Mississippi State. This will be, what is their mascot? I don't know. Mississippi State's first game of the year, taking on Troy. and one team will be the winner. Troy, basically already a must-win for them, and they don't get it. Mississippi State take the win 21-10, dropping Troy to 0-3, and it is already not looking good for the Trojans. Just let's around 16, yeah, 16 points per game. So well off that mark as it stands, as Mississippi State start the season off at 1-0, which will bump them up to fourth ahead of South Alabama, who have just one loss. But they remain behind Alabama, Auburn, and UAB, who currently leads the conference, all at 1-0. We'll see Mississippi State again take on South Alabama in week number 12. As for Troy, they've already finished 3 of their 8 games that they need to play. And their next one will be in week 24 against Ole Miss. So not really looking that much better for them in the future. And now the Mountain Conference, where Colorado are 1-0 after beating Utah State in week number 2. They're taking on Colorado State here, their intra-state rivals, who are 0-1 after the loss to the Air Force Academy in week number 4. Will the Rams be able to level the playing field, or could Colorado even be looking for a spot at the top of the conference alongside BYU? They will get the win and move up to 2-0. And that score of 34-21 will help them greatly in their quest for that top spot and for a national ranking as well. They're still going to be behind BYU here, who have a very impressive 89 points over those 2 games, but they're going to climb to 55, which will put them in second. As for Colorado State, 21 points put down, a decent score. It will bump them up 1 spot ahead of Utah State, but still winless as it stands. They'll get another opportunity next week against debutants Arizona State, who Sun Devils won the Mountain Conference in my initial simulation, so I don't know what Colorado State's chances are in that game. As for Colorado, they'll play against Utah, a team that they just leapfrogged in the conference in week 17. And now to the Pacific Conference, where we have the debut of the UCLA Bruins. They're taking on San Jose State, who are 1-1, and with both of those games being in the last 2 weeks, they lost to Stanford in week 5 before defeating Fresno State in an upset in week number 6. UCLA recently made a big money move in real life, so could they be improving here in the Pacific Conference? They did very well in my initial simulation, so looking to improve upon that, starting their season off here against the San Jose State Spartans, who get the upset, and the Bruins fall in their first game in the Pacific Conference, and San Jose State will improve to 2-1. It's yet another upset. 8.8% chance to win, according to the simulator. That is the biggest upset of the season, bigger than Delaware against Pitt, bigger than anything else we've seen so far. UCLA has been defeated. Oh my goodness. What a performance from San Jose State we have seen thus far this season. That is their second straight upset. And yeah, they move up to 2-1. And who's to say now they don't deserve a spot in the playoffs ahead of one of these bigger schools in the Pacific Conference. They'll stay in 4th purely based on win ratio, as USC, Hawaii, and Stanford all undefeated. But UCLA, they will start off their season 0-1 and just 19 points scored here in their first game. That will drop them all the way down to, 9th? All the way down to 9th in a 10-team conference. Well, that was unexpected. The models on the arms on this model don't move, but I promise they were on my head. That was crazy. UCLA will get the chance to bounce back next week against Stanford, who are one of the 1-0 teams. And San Jose State will play again the week after next in week 9 against 0-1 San Diego State. And after that ordeal, we are on to the Northwest Conference, where Oregon State were leading for a little while before they were defeated last week by the Washington Huskies, looking for a bounce back here against fellow 1-1 team, the Idaho Vandals. So one of these teams will be moving up to 2-1. Which one will it be? Beavers against Vandals in the Northwest Conference? And it is the Idaho Vandals. I feel like that's an upset. Yeah, it is, just slightly. 46% chance to win for Idaho. They're going to improve to 2-1 as the Beavers lose for a second straight week, which is unfortunate to say the least for them. And Idaho will leapfrog above them in the standings. 2-1 and a decent amount of points scored in all these games as well. They're up to 84 points total, which leads them to around, I want to say 28 maybe? 28 points per game, which is well above that line that is needed. Oregon State, I believe, is there as well. They're at 90 points. So at 30 points per game, Oregon State still looking at least a wild card berth. So not all is lost for the Beavers, but they are going to need some better performances if they want to secure a spot in the Northwest Conference. And yeah, Northwest is one of the more fleshed out conferences so far. Every team has played at least once, and a few teams have played twice already. Idaho and Oregon State, of course, now at 3 games. We'll see Oregon State again in week 10 against 1-0 Washington State. And Idaho will look to back up their performance this week as they take on their state rivals, Boise State, next week. And now on to our 9th conference, the North Conference. We've got another matchup between FCS and FBS opponents. It's South Dakota, who were bested by FBS team Minnesota in week number 4, here taking on what is probably the worst FBS team in the Dynaminis, Wyoming, who are currently 0-2 on just 9 points, 4.5 points per game. But they could be looking for an opportunity to turn their season around here against the Coyotes. Cowboys against Coyotes. Who will it be? It will be South Dakota, as most football watchers would have expected there. South Dakota, that's their first win of the season. Was a close one against Minnesota in week 4, and they've turned that around. They're up to 1-1 now. As for Wyoming, they dropped to 0-3, and with another 9 points tacked on, that's only 6 points per game for them, so not looking great at all. And they'll stay, obviously, in last in the North Conference. Will they get a chance to bounce back at some point? Will they give themselves a chance? They don't play for a little while. We'll see them next in week 17 against current second-place team in the North Conference, South Dakota State. As for the Coyotes, they'll play again in week 12 against North Dakota State. And now we are on to the Central Conference. We're past the halfway mark in this video. And we've got a matchup here. Debut Purdue taking on 1-0 Nebraska, who got a win against Notre Dame in week number 2. And Notre Dame has since, not really done great, but it's still a really good win for Nebraska. Notre Dame still, I wouldn't say a team to scoff at for sure. So Nebraska started off 1-0. 40 points here will actually see them take the lead if they manage a win. Against Purdue, I don't think that's going to happen, but anything is possible in the Dynaminis. Iowa State currently first in the Central Conference. And as I said, Purdue's first game of the year. Let's take a look here, and it will be a Nebraska win, and not close to 40 points, but a win nonetheless. 65% chance to win. And it's a 20-17 effort that sees them move up to 2-0. And I believe up to second in the Central Conference. I am incorrect. Moving past the current FBS champions in real life, Indiana, up to second place, just behind Iowa State. That won't see them into the national rankings. That's only about 23.5 points per game, 47 total. But it is a decent win, a win at all, as Purdue will drop to 0-1, which will start them off in ninth place. 17 points scored here in their first game, but Nebraska have proven themselves to be a decent side, so Purdue still plenty of chances left to get a win. They'll play next in week number 14. Unfortunately, that will be against the current uh, Central Conference leaders, Iowa State. As for Nebraska, they'll also play Iowa State in week 16. And now it's the Lakes Conference. 3 teams left that have yet to play a game in this conference, and one of them playing today, that being Eastern Michigan. They're taking on the current second place team in the Lakes Conference in Toledo after getting a 43-13 win over Ohio in week number 2. Can they back that up with another win here and continue to keep their eyes on a top 4 spot in the Lakes Conference? Yes, they can, with certainty. The only thing to be taken, the only bad thing to be taken away from this for Toledo is that'll drop their points per game by 1, so they could see themselves drop maybe 1 or 2 spots in the national rankings, but they will stay nationally ranked as they shut out Eastern Michigan 41-0, up to 84 points per game. Sorry, 80. Oh my goodness, 84 points total, 42 points per game. Just 2 points behind Michigan, the leaders of the Lakes Conference now. As Eastern Michigan will start off 0-1 on 0 points. That will drop them to dead last in the Lakes Conference, 11th place. You hate to see it, but plenty of opportunity as they get 10 games per season in the Lakes Conference. Plenty of opportunities for Eastern Michigan to come back from this one. They'll start in week number 10 against Akron. As for Toledo, they play Eastern Michigan's counterparts, Western Michigan, in week number 12. The Mustangs have been doing a little bit better. They're 1-1 as of now, so we shall see how that ends up. That'll be right after the week when Western Michigan takes on Ohio State, so we'll see how the Mustangs feel about that. But Toledo getting the win here, and a big one, 41-0. And now moving on to the Middle East Conference, the first game between what I believe to be the Big Four in the Middle East Conference, the most secure conference in terms of top 4 teams. That group being Kentucky, Louisville, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. And it's a match between Kentucky and Vanderbilt. Kentucky had a shock upset in week number 2 against Western Kentucky, so they're 1-1 as it stands, but Vanderbilt getting a 30-point win last week against Memphis to take first place in the Middle East Conference as it stands. So can Kentucky get back to their winning ways against a team that could be at their heels or leading them the entire season for a spot in the college football playoffs? Well, let's find out. It will be the Vanderbilt Commodores taking the win by 16. Kentucky just not doing enough there, and they're going to fall to 1-2 now here. Could be little alarm bells ringing here for Kentucky. I still think they're pretty safe as long as they don't lose too many more. I mean, that's kind of how sports works. I think it's Captain Obvious kind of thing, but Vanderbilt's a very good score for them. It will knock their points per game but only slightly. They're definitely going to stay in the national rankings and stay atop the Middle East Conference as well. 2-0, 81 points scored through those 2 games. So a very nice 40.5 points per game for them. And we will keep our eyes on them. A couple weeks from now, they take on Bowling Green in week 9. And as for Kentucky, we're going to have to wait a little while till week 15 when they take on Memphis. Both those teams will be looking to bounce back in that game. So that will be an exciting one in week 15. And we move on here to the Virginia Conference, where West Virginia getting the win last week over state rivals Marshall. They're up to 1-2, sitting in 4th. And it's the debut of Liberty University. Could pass up the Mountaineers with a win here, or can West Virginia get back to even on the season, back to 2-2 after 2 unfortunate losses to start the season? Can they go on a streak of wins? Yes, they can. It's a very decent score, very similar to the last game. I think not exactly the same, but 20-39 for the West Virginia Mountaineers, and they'll move up to 2-2, which will see them actually pass 1-1 Virginia, as they are ranked by win percentage. So both teams at 50%. The next stat would be total points scored. Virginia have 65. And now West Virginia are up to 105. So they will move up into second behind the 2 undefeated teams, Old Dominion and William and Mary, which is kind of weird to say. Those aren't the teams you'd expect to be leading the Virginia Conference, but they are. West Virginia take the win over Liberty, who dropped to 0-1, down to last place in the Virginia Conference. But still plenty of time left for them. They'll play again in a couple weeks against fellow winless team Marshall. And West Virginia will feature next in week 12, taking on current leaders of the Virginia Conference, Old Dominion. Next, we've got a very interesting one here in the New England Conference. Boston College got a good win against UMass last week, although the Minutemen did keep it close. They're playing against fellow 1-0 team Syracuse here, who got a win against Buffalo in week 4. These teams currently 2nd and 3rd in the New England Conference. Boston College ahead, scoring 10 more points in their first game, but this will be a real decider. Winner will take 2nd. Loser could fall very far, down to 5th even. So let's see who it will be. Boston College currently sitting in the ranking zone. Syracuse just out of it, but a win by enough points could see them into the top 25. And let's find out who it will be. Boston College against Syracuse, and it will be the Eagles with a very sure one indeed. Only a 67% chance to win, but they make it look easy against the Syracuse Orange, and they'll move up to 2-0, knocking their points per game in just a little bit, but I think that is enough to, it's going to be close, but I think that's enough to stay in the top 25. Unfortunately, not nearly enough to catch current conference leaders, Rutgers, who are on 115 total points scored over 2 games. Boston College 69, so they are at 34.5 points per game to Rutgers 57.5, so they will take 2nd in the New England Conference. Syracuse just scoring 19 points here. They will fall to 5th, which is just unfortunate, down to 1-1. But plenty of chances indeed to be able to bounce back from this one. We'll see them again here in a few weeks. They're taking on the Army Academy in week 10. As for Boston College, it'll be sooner for them. In week 9, they'll play their 3rd game, and it will be against FCS team New Hampshire. So come back for that one. And now to the Mid-Atlantic Conference. Penn State were undefeated until last week when they fell to the Pitt Panthers, dropping down out of the national rankings and into third in the Mid-Atlantic. They're playing against debutants Temple here, one of just 3 teams left to play in the Mid-Atlantic. So can the Temple Owls get a big upset here? This is the middle of a 4-game streak, or 4-game run of matches here that Penn State has. And their first one was a loss to Pitt. They've got Temple this week, Ball State next week, and Villanova, current Mid-Atlantic leaders, the week after. So can Penn State get back on track against Temple, or will it be an upset for the Owls to start their season? It will be the Penn State Nittany Lions taking the win, and a sure one as well, 34-12. And they'll go back to their winning ways up to 2-1. They won't pass up Pitt, who are currently 2-1 in second, but they will pretty surely secure their place in third here to 99 points. So 33 points per game, enough to be above that cut line. Anyway, if they were to not finish in the top 4, which would be very unlikely at this point in the season. As for Temple, they're the only team that has played that hasn't gotten a win, which is just kind of unfortunate the way that things are shaping up in the Mid-Atlantic. So Temple will fall to last place, 8th place in the Mid-Atlantic, but plenty of opportunities to bounce back as well. We are still early in the season here in week number 7, and as I said, Penn State now in the middle of a run of 4 games. They are 1-1 through these past 2, and they've got 2 more to go. Ball State next week, Villanova the week after. As for Temple, they'll play Maryland in week 12. And on to the North Carolina Conference. Wake Forest got a good win last week against Duke to move up to 2-1 into 3rd place in the conference. Playing as 0-1 Appalachian State here, who lost to current conference leaders East Carolina back in week number 3. So Wake Forest looking to keep it on track. Appalachian State Mountaineers looking to bounce back here. Wake Forest, I believe, heavily favored, but the Dynaminis simulator can do basically anything it wants. It does stick to the stats, but sometimes it throws us curveballs. We've already had the biggest upset of the season. I don't even remember who it was anymore. I got to scroll backward. Oh, it was San Jose State beating UCLA with just an 8.8% chance to win. So can Appalachian State do the same here against Wake Forest? No, they can't. 20% chance to win, but they score a good amount of points here against the Demon Deacons, who, unfortunately for App State, put up more. And Wake Forest will take the win and get a huge amount of points here. They're up to 3-1, and now 140 points scored total over those 4 games. So that is well above the 24 points per game needed, and they are currently sitting in the top 4 anyway. So looking pretty sure for them. App State have also been on a good run of scoring, even though they've lost all their games so far. They're at 62 points through 2 games, so 31 points per game for App State. Currently sees them in the wild card bracket as it stands. So as long as they can keep this up, I mean, losing sucks, but as long as they can keep this up, they'll get a chance at a postseason. They will get another chance at a in-conference win in Week 10, taking on the University of North Carolina, who currently is sitting at 1-0. As for Wake Forest, they've already played 4 of their 7 games this year, but their next one will be in Week 12, taking on the FCS team NCANT. Now to the Southeast Conference. Clemson are 1-0 in 4th place as it stands. Lots of undefeated teams, in fact 4 of them in the Southeast Conference, them being the 4 teams that I thought would finish top 4. Georgia Tech in 1st, South Carolina 2nd, Georgia 3rd, and Clemson rounding that out. I think those 4 teams, maybe they'll end up in a different order, but I think those will be the top 4 earning the automatic playoff bids in the Southeast Conference. Will a team stand up to them? Will a team be the one to break into that top 4? And will it be Kennesaw State this week taking on Clemson? They're 0-1 already, an unfortunate loss to Georgia State in week 3, but they can bounce back with a monstrous upset here against the Clemson Tigers. Or will Clemson from South Carolina put the game to bed? Oh my goodness, yes they will. They heard all that yapping and they were like, "Who is this guy? What is he talking about? He doesn't know anything about football." 60-16 for Clemson. A 98% chance to win for the Tigers. And the Owls of Kennesaw State had essentially no chance, a 2% chance. That would have been an even crazier upset than the one we've already seen today. But just unfortunate as they are going to fall to 0-2. Currently below that 24 points per game needed to get into the wild card, but hope still held out for them. There are plenty of other teams not in the Big Four that I think there are in the Southeast that they will have opportunities to play against. So maybe look for a bounce back there as Clemson will move up to 2-0. And with that, I mean, they were already ranked, but that's going to greatly improve their points per game. 94 points total. That's going to far away put them ahead in first in the Southeast Conference, and that could even see them maybe into the top 10 in the national rankings. I think that, let's see, divide by 2, 94. That's going to put them at 47 points per game. A very impressive amount after 2 games. So that will move them up quite a bit. You'll have to stay tuned to the end of the video to see where that falls, but I think that might be top 10. Yeah, you'll have to see until after I've done my calculations. Even I don't know at this point, so we shall see. We've got just one game left, so let's move on to the Florida Conference here. And the University of Florida, the Gators are ranked. They are ranked 12th after getting a win last week against FIU, and now they're playing FAU, Florida Atlantic, who are currently 1-1 after losing to South Florida in week 2, bouncing back against FIU in week 3. Can they hold up to the might of the Gators? They cannot, as Florida take another huge win, which I think could also see them into the top 10. 56-32. That is a huge amount of points scored. That's up to 99 now points total this year. So 49.5 points per week, points per game. And that will see them take first in the Florida Conference. And again, probably move up into the top 10 in the national rankings. Very impressive from the Florida Gators as FAU fall to 1-2. They're not going to drop any points, or drop any spots rather, in the Florida Conference, as the 2 teams below them, Florida State and Miami, have yet to play, and they have got a win under their belts. So staying in 5th as it stands, they've got a decent amount of points as well. They're up to 81. So that is definitely 24, at least 24 points per game, I do believe. It is 27 points per game. So a very good score from FAU despite the loss. And they will fall here, but they will definitely look to bounce back. They are definitely not a bad team. They've just had some unfortunate games, South Florida and Florida. So some big teams they've been playing. They'll be the recipients of the debut of Florida State next week. So we'll see how they can hold up to the Seminoles, who didn't have the greatest season last year. Maybe Florida Atlantic can take advantage of that. As for the Gators, they'll play next in week number 10 against a 1-1 Jacksonville State. So stay tuned for that. And here is our top 25. Boston College down to 21st after dropping some points per game this week. It's not all lost, though. Still undefeated alongside Texas Tech, UCF, Hawaii, and USF. Michigan State also on 34 points per game, but tiebreakers go to best opponent And Michigan State's best opponent is currently 0-1, Miami, Ohio. And UCF, Hawaii, and USF have all played a team that have since or before they played them won a game. So that is why Michigan State is not in the rankings here. Anyway, up into our top 20, Georgia sitting in 16th on 38 points per game. Then it's TCU, Tulane, East Carolina, and Auburn. Starting to see more, more teams than just 1-0, which is getting to be exciting. A lot of teams that have played more than one game and are still undefeated. Very impressive from them. And then next we've got Toledo in 11th, Oregon, Vanderbilt. Newcomers Tarleton State, our one new team to the rankings. Some of the other teams got shuffled around in the rankings, but this is our one new team to the rankings. It's Tarleton State, scoring 39 points this week. And then Texas A&M dropping all the way from 6th after not scoring quite as many points as they did in their first win of the season, but still a very good win against Texas, and so expect them, Texas A&M, the Aggies, to stay in the rankings for quite a long time. Then we move up into our top 10, where Arkansas sits in 6th. We got Clemson in 7th, jumping up from 25th after scoring a monumental 60 points this week against Kennesaw State. They're up into 7th. Then it's BYU, UAB, and Michigan rounding out the top 10. And then our top 5 looking basically the same as last week, except we got Florida jumping up from 12th after dropping 56 on FAU this week. They're up to 49.5 points per game and up into 5th in the national rankings with Georgia 2nd, 4th, Villanova 3rd, Montana State 2nd, and Rutgers still leading the country 2-0, 57.5 points per game. And then here are the teams playing next week. I'm looking mostly at the exciting newcomers. We got Florida State making their first appearance in the college football Dynaminis along with Tennessee. Iowa will be showing up for the first time, as well as North Dakota and North Dakota State. Arizona State, who won the Mountain Conference in my initial simulation, will also be coming back. And plenty of other teams, lots of ranked teams as well. And lots of teams looking to get in the rankings. I don't think I've highlighted teams that have played that aren't in the rankings, but teams like Oklahoma, Alabama, Iowa State, who aren't necessarily in the rankings, but still, if they get a good enough win, they could break into the top 25 next week. Those are some of the teams to be looking at. And then, yeah. I think what definitely going to be more exciting next week than this week, even though we did get a crazy upset this week. UCLA will still be reeling from that. They're going to try to make a comeback next week against Stanford. So come back for that. But that is really all that needs to be said and done. Make sure to drop your favorite team down in the comments if you watch this video all the way through. Thank you so much. I've been getting literally one or two views on all of these videos. But I guess if you've watched this far, you get to hear my sentiment that I just want to leave something behind in this world. If nothing else, even if no one's watching them, I want people to be able to see that I'm here. I existed. So I don't know, kind of a weird, dark thing, but I'm just I did all the statistics already, and with all this college football and my Minecraft Sim League, and then my soccer series, football, whatever you want to call it, coming in the summer. I don't think I'd be able to do anything else except for post it on YouTube. So I just hope people enjoy what I make, even if it's, if you're watching this in 2026, 2028, 2030, 2035, I don't know. If the world hasn't ended by then, I'd be kind of surprised, honestly. But anyway, we are done here with week number 7 of the College Football Dynaminis, and we will be back in, will it be February? This is coming out in January, but yeah, it will be February by the time this comes out. So see you guys next month. Just 4 days from now. So make sure to come back then and subscribe if you aren't already. Oh my goodness, English is starting to slip away from me. But anyway, that is telling me to say the parting words. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe and see ya.